Hello everyone. Good morning or good afternoon as per your respective time zones. On behalf of entire Mastek Managed Services team, we would like to welcome you all to 24C Workforce Management and Global Payroll Advisory webinar session. This important session is to keep you fully synchronized with the new features and functionalities as part of this quarter release that Oracle provides. My name is Sachin Mishra and I am an Oracle HCM consultant at Mastek Managed Services team. Today, I'm your host for this session, and I'm glad to introduce my colleague, Urmil Parekh, who is an HCM expert and part of our vast HCM team at Mastek. Today, he will take us through all the workforce management and global payroll updates for 24C quarter release. This session is planned for around 45 to 60 minutes, and we will make sure that we also spare some time to answer all your questions that you may have. We also have a panelist available, Prashant Agrawal, so you can ask any questions through chat or question panel. Before we move to the agenda, let's have a quick look at the important disclaimer. We would like to convey you our approach towards the Oracle updates in a very simple method. We will be taking you through a vital analysis for the 24C updates done by our experts, which will help you incorporating new features and updates easily into the system. Also, we will sync you on any bugs, known issues if there are any. It's good to have interactive sessions, so please do ask questions through chat or question panel. We will answer them at the end of the session, and in case if we run out of time, we will make sure to respond to you by connecting you at later stage to answer all your questions. So, list of new features coming into 24C. Detailing on features so you get brief understanding on what new features are all about. Next one is what are the business benefits and the important takeaway for you as a decision maker. There are four components which we have done in-depth analysis of features which we are going to present to you. The first one is impact level analysis, which demonstrate the impact on the end user. If it is low impact, then regression testing can be avoided. But if it is high, then we need to opt for regression testing. Second one is which we are aware that there are some features which are by default auto-enabled by Oracle and there are some which we need to opt for. Third one highlights the nature of the feature. There would be certain configurations which may be required or some can be used without any changes. The last one is quick win. This term we use to simply convey that what is ready to use by investing minimum amount of time and what requires significant amount of time and efforts to make use of this feature. So with this, I'm handing over to you, my colleague Urmil Parekh. Urmil, please unmute yourself and all the best. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Sachin. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, based on your time zone. My name is Urmil Parikh, and I am Senior HCM Consultant at Oracle Mastek, and I will be taking you through 24C workforce management and global payroll updates. And based on our analysis and latest release related updates for payroll, absences, time and labor, workforce management, what all our changes are there in 24C updates? I'll try to walk you through all of those. So just to start with, the first area that we wanted to cover is new features for global payroll. The features that I'm going to talk about right now is all our quick wins and default inbuilt features with no configurations. So the first feature that I would like to talk about is deletion of time after the termination date of an employee. So before 24C, we have seen that in time and labor or any of the claims that were available in the system, even after employee's termination details, it was still there and all payroll managers have to manually delete those entries. But based on this particular feature from coming releases, that entries will automatically deleted. So the moment HR employees will add the termination dates, and if there are approvals enabled for that particular transaction, once the transaction is approved, all of those entries that has been entered via either a data loader or a time and labor application, it will automatically be end dated or deleted considering the time frame. So this particular feature will ensure that manual intervention from payroll side, and it will eliminates the need to delete the future time entries that we currently have to. In terms of impact analysis for this feature, it's low impact considering that it's not something which is majorly occurring to the business. We don't need to enable anything for this one. It's a default feature given by Oracle. There is no configuration needed. It's a on given 24C update feature, and it will be considered as a quick win. Moving forward, the next one is Redwood payslip enhancements. So in 24C, there are so many Redwood related enhancements and upgrades are given by Oracle. So before moving into the specific details of this particular feature, I would like to take a minute to talk about the Redwood feature that is coming in starting from 24D, 23D, and 24 ABC releases. So as we all know, Oracle is transforming their entire look and feel and user experience time to time, starting from classic UI to responsive UI and now into Redwood. As we all are moving towards the Redwood UI, it's very much important for all of us to adopt the Redwood UI as fast as we can, and all the default given features we need to start accepting, so that as and when Oracle will mandate these features from 25 releases, all of these user related enhancements are already in place. So as a part of SI, we would like to request all the customers who are already using Oracle and who are starting to adopt the Oracle system, they start using Redwood UI as much as they can. Coming back to the topic again, Redwood payslip enhancement. So this particular feature, if we are already using payslip in the new Redwood UI from 24AB, we already have seen that on the payslip UI, there were earnings, deductions, net pay, and distribution pages, and the different set of graphs were already available. The enhancement on top of it is related to the payslips download feature, and that download will also allow you to download more than one payslips. So based on the range of dates that you have specified, system will allow you to download all the payslips, and that will also be in a compressed zip file. So that will be less storage specific, and it will easy for you to transfer payslips from device to device if you want. So that's the benefit of this particular feature. Again, in terms of impact level, it's low. We don't need to enable anything considering the prerequisite that we already have adopted Redwood payslip. There's no configuration needed, and it's a quick win for us. Moving forward, the next one is view year-end documents. So as previously in your classic UI and your responsive UI, there were document of records field where we were generally seeing the year-end document. From the latest releases in quick actions and responsive UI, there is a specific area dedicated to year-end documents. And now there is a new enhancement to that particular feature that will display the documents based on the different set of selective periods. So it's just an enhancement to the existing functionality which is already there in use, where we can specify the start date and end date or a specific date range based on which whatever the documents that are published, that will be available for a user to see. It's just an enhancement in terms of different set of selection of periods, which will at the end of it allow users to view all of their published document as of current date and based on the published date. Okay. In terms of impact analysis, this is low impacting. We don't need to enable anything. Again, there is no configuration needed, and it will be marked as a quick win. Moving forward, the next one is an important feature, that is additional information for costing results UI and costing results reports. So in terms of payroll and finance, when we transfer all of our costing details to general ledger via the process of transfer to subledger accounting, there was a missing point, or I would say there was a point where a payroll person does not have any clue that the transfer to subledger related processes are actually considered and the respective create accounting process has been ran or not. With this particular feature from 24C, Even a payroll manager will be able to see that the transfer to subledger costing has been transferred into GL or SLA or not. So all of those not transferred, transferred, draft, final, invalid, complete, all of these statuses are now added in the costing details and costing results report. So now when we run the costing results report after transfer to subledger process, we can easily identify that for a specific period of time, if a payroll team has transferred the costing details to subledger and a finance team has run the process of create accounting, what is the latest status of that period's costing? Is it really transferred? Is it in draft mode or is it in final mode? So that will enhance the clarity between two modules, I would say, which is payroll and finance. And it's a clear indication in terms of what has been transferred and what has not been transferred. So in terms of the business benefit, additional this all additional fields and parameters will allow users to view more details and reports accurately. In terms of impact, again, it's a low impact. Need to enable? No, we don't need to do anything for that. There is no configuration needed, and it's a quick win for us in terms of the overall visibility between two separate teams. The next topic is global payments XML support. So in terms of standardization, ISO 20022, there are some global payments XML features that Oracle has started supporting. So in terms of that, all the financial institutes that will use electronic payment messages, there are some enhancement into that. So basically all the global payments XML, it will now include requested execution date. It will also include BIC, that stands for Business Identifier Code, for all the financial institute, and it will also add creditor and debitor address for third party, so that the clear visibility of from where the amount has been transferred to which account against the third party organizations. So this particular feature will allow business to manage their country specific electronic messages. So if there are any specific region specific requirements are there for ISO global XML standard payroll payments, we can use this feature to enhance the overall standard related financial institute reports. In terms of impact, again, this is low impacted. We don't need to enable anything. There is no configuration needed, and it's a quick win. Moving forward, this is one of the transactional analysis related enhancement, or I would say in the OTBI payroll related subject area, there is one specific detail or a one specific field related data has been added, and that is category code. So now, as you can see on my screen, the details related to category code will be added under the element folder in following subject area. So as we are using OTBI for frequent quick analysis creation, this category code will add some more detailed level values into that. And as you can see, for element entries history, payroll, run costing real time, run results, retroactive pay, and individual compensation. All of these subject areas will have a specific category code available against the element folder, so that we can drill down our analysis against the category code and based on the rest of the requirements. In terms of impact, this is low impacting. We don't need to enable anything. There is no configuration needed. And again, it's a quick win for us. Okay. Now moving ahead, there are some features which are marked as quick wins, but it's not by default given by Oracle in 24C. So we have to do minor tweaks. We might need to do some more configurations. And all of these features I would like to talk about for global payroll. The next topic is Redwood experience for person messages. So in this one, as you all have seen, responsive UI based Oracle and even the classic UI, in that particular area, when we start using person results area for payroll, we can go to person results, we can see statements of earnings, run result, balance results, costing details, and then messages. In the Redwood UI, similar set of creation and enhancement has been done. So for that, we just need to enable couple of profile options, which has been mentioned on the screen. So once we enable those profile options, system will automatically enable these particular messages for us as well. So as and when we run the payroll or quick pay, we wanted to test something and we wanted to write some messages in the fast formula, we can use that and it will enhance our experience. So this particular feature again will correlate the Redwood experience to the previous responsive UI and classic UI experiences. So it just enhance the current version of what Redwood payroll person result area is. In terms of impact analysis, it's low impact. In terms of enablement, we have to enable a couple of profile options. So need to enable yes. For that, we have to do the configuration and it will be a quick win for us. Okay. The next topic is Redwood experience for payment results. So similar to again, classic and responsive UI, we can go to person's payroll area. We can search for a person. We can go to person results, search for calculate prepayments, and we used to do some adjustments into check payment or BEX payments or whatever the EFT type of electronic payments that we have generated. If we wanted to roll back that, if we wanted to void those payments, we wanted to record an external information against that, all of those details are now enabled in Redwood experience as well. So it's just an enhancement into the Redwood UI. In terms of enablement, we have to enable a couple of more profile options as mentioned on the screen. And once we do that, similar to old classic and responsive UIs, system will allow us to change details in their payment results. So if we wanted to make those values to void, we wanted to roll back those prepayments or anything related to that, we can take all of those actions. Again, the impact on this one is low. We need to enable yes, because there are a couple of profile options that we need to enable. In terms of configurations, we have to just enable these two values and that's it. And it's a quick win for us. Okay. In terms of business benefits, this new page offers a fewer number of clicks and a better performance. You can take the advantage of the cohesive through the application with the new page. It's just an enhancement into the existing Redwood experience. Moving ahead, the next one is related to the experience for again Redwood, and that is personal payment methods. So now we can view all the corrections, all the updates, and all the historic changes that has been done on employees' personal payment methods. So there are various cases where at the time of running the payroll based on your specific period, you have started running the payroll as a part of payroll manager monthly processing cycle. And in between, employees have changed their personal payment methods or anything related to their bank account details. And when we reach to the BEX transfer or EFT transfer or check transfer payment related details, we might see a different to the previous month. So now with this Redwood experience for personal payment methods, we can enable all of those effective date related historic changes. And that will tell us that when exactly that change happened, and we can drill down to the utmost level to make sure that the right level of audit policies are there. So for that, we have to enable the audit for that particular global payroll area, and personal payment methods should be enabled in terms of the attribute. But in terms of overall future benefit, a professional user can view historical changes to employees' personal payment methods. So it's just a quick win for us, considering the small enablement in terms of audit policies and the small configuration. But as a payroll professional, we will have a clear indication of when that person related changes has happened. Okay. Moving ahead, the next one is distributed element name as a subledger accounting source. So till today, if we are using distributed element costing At the subledger level and at the accounting level, we don't have a visibility to see which element is distributing what particular details. In terms of payroll, we have an option when we download the costing report, we have an option to see that, okay, this particular element has transferred values into 3 or 4 elements as a part of distributed costing. But when we receive those values into subledger accounting, those values will be consolidated and we only see the account details. With this particular feature, we can enable those distributed cost against the element in subledger journal lines as well. So even the subledger journal lines will clarify that how these values are distributed and what exactly the journal entry rules are. In terms of steps to enable, we have to display this particular element details. We have to create the distributed cost element and we have to attach subledger journal entry rule sets to that. Once we do that, we will be able to see what has actually distributed against that particular element's costing. In terms of impact, again, this particular feature is low impacting. We need to enable this via journal entry rules, and that's the configuration that we need, but it's a quick win for us at the end. Next topic is audit element security profiles. So as we all know that from release 23D and 24A, we already have security profiles enabled for element and element entry. So by doing that particular thing, we already are restricting certain set of elements to specific set of users only. And that particular feature is helping us in defining who can access what particular area instead of elements and element entries are open for all. On top of it, this particular feature as part of 24C will enable the feature to audit all of those changes against the element. So now if someone will update the element entries, if someone will delete the entries or someone will add the entries, all of those values will be audited now against the element security profile. So for that, we need to enable the auditing for element security profiles, and there are steps already mentioned over here where we have to go to setup and maintenance, then we have to go to audit policies, and in the auditing functionality we have to search for a business object like global payroll, and in that particular area we will be able to search for element security profile. And at that particular level, once we add the audit enable for element and element classification, as and when there are any changes against any employee in their element entry related details, we will be able to track those. So in terms of these particular feature, we will, by audit framework, we will allowing users to view all the change information, and that will be very much beneficial for all the payroll managers. So in terms of enablement, these are the things that we need to do in terms of enabling the audit options. That's the configuration that we need to do, but it's at the end of it, it's a quick win for us. Okay, the next feature is absence donation plan. So this particular feature is very much important in terms of in any of the organization, if we have an option of donating their absence balances from a specific pool to a specific person, this particular feature is very much important. And there is another area where we will have a more detailed discussion about absence donation plan creation as well. So in terms of payroll area, to support the element creation, we have a specific secondary classification enabled for donation pool. So likewise, if we are using any absence elements creation, we usually will select the legislative data group and primary classification and absences. In the secondary classification, by default till 24B, we will be seeing the options like accrual, childbirth related details, sickness and all, illness and injury. All of those secondary classifications were there. Alongside that, from 24C, we will be able to see secondary classification as donation pool. And this particular donation plan will help us creating the donation type of absences, which will allow employees to use their leave balances. If they wanted to donate their balances into the common pool, they can do that. And if someone from the organization wanted to use that, they can opt for it as well. In terms of impact analysis, this is high impacting. We need to enable this because there is an element creation is required on top of it. We have to create absence plan, absence type related to that so that the entire integration between absence and payroll elements will happen. So it's a configuration related details, and in terms of the final observation, it will require us a rigorous testing. So it's not a quick win for us. We have to do in-depth analysis for this one to make sure that the entire function is working correctly and based on your business requirements. Okay. The next topic is Redwood experience for flow submission. In this particular feature, it's just Redwood. It will enhance the experience for submit a flow. So similar to classic and responsive UI, if we are enabling couple of profile options, it will allow us to create flow patterns, and we can submit the flow similar to what we used to in responsive and classic UI, like calculate payroll, prepayments, EFT payments, and rest of the options. So it's a similar set of experience enhancement like we used to have in responsive and classic UI. So this new page offers a fewer number of clicks and it will better the performance on top of it. So again, it's the entire page where we can run our payroll processing. So the impact is high. We need to enable using the couple of profile options. So that's the configuration that we are doing. But at the end of it, it's a quick win for us. Okay. Moving ahead, there are couple of enhancement in the balance exception report as well. So till the time till 24 AB, we used to create balance exception report and the comparison between previous period to the current period. But from this particular release, we can use balance exception report for current period related details as well. So just as an example, if you wanted to use or if you wanted to track employee salary who are greater than 2000 in the current run, we have an option to do that because the current month related balances are now possible to track in balance exception report. So it's a quick win for us. We need to do some configuration and the impact level is low for that. So all of these features were related to global payroll. Now I will move to absence module and we'll start with default with no configuration quick wins for absence module. So the first one is capture plan and type setup change history. So in this particular feature, we can enable the audit and we can make sure that all the plan and type related changes that has happened against that particular absences. So we can track the changes against absence plan and absence type by enabling auditing for them. So similar to what we have seen for element history, security profiles auditing, similar to that, now we can track all the changes against absence plan and type setup. So these are the options that are available for that particular auditing option. So if you wanted to enable the auditing for absence plan and absence type, now we can do that and we can track all the changes that are related to those. Okay, this particular feature can now help us track all of these details for absence plan and types as mentioned on my screen. In terms of impact, it's low impacting. We don't need to enable anything. There's no configuration required apart from the audit enablement, and it's a quick win for us. Okay, the next one is approval comments entry on absence planning. So now using the Redwood page, similar to classic UI and responsive UI, managers now can enter a comment while they are approving and rejecting single or multiple absence related requests. So now manager will have an option to add the comments while they are taking their action as a part of approver. Previously, it was not an option to add any comments in the Redwood UI, but now Redwood enhancement will take care of that to make sure that all the comments and all the details based on what a manager is taking their action, it will be tracked properly. So in terms of business benefit, line managers can now enter a comment when approving and rejecting an absence record on the absence planning page, and considering that it will be easy to track and visible to everyone, whoever is part of that hierarchy. Impact level, it's low. We don't need to enable anything. There is no configuration required. That's why it's a quick win for us. The next one is enhance half day absence option. So by this particular feature in Redwood UI, we are enabling the ability to specify which half day of a shift worker is working and on what time duration the worker is not working. So that particular feature is enabled for us. So this can allow us to do any changes on repeating absences, absence bid, and absence entry by an administrator. So in all of these cases, we can now add the half day based on a specific time duration as well, instead of just selecting half day for without the duration. Okay, this feature will allow the ability to select which half of the shift a worker won't work during a half day absence. So in terms of impact, it's low impacting. We don't need to enable anything. There is no configuration required, and that's why it's a quick win for us. Moving ahead, the next one is Redwood UI support for additional features. So in terms of Redwood UI, in absence module, we can add couple of more features, and that is you can add display warning messages. We can display warning messages while approving absences, while entering an absences, and all of that. So in terms of that warning message addition, there are three different areas or three different types where we can add the configuration for warning messages. And that is warning from validation in fast formula, concurrent absence warning, and low balance warning. So we can enable all of these in Redwood UI now, similar to what we have for responsive UI as of now. So by that, this particular feature is enhancing the Redwood experience, and it is making it more close to what we currently have as a part of feature in responsive UI. In terms of impact, it's low impacting. We don't need to enable anything and don't need to configure anything. It's a quick win for us. The next topic is evaluate in progress open-ended absences as well. So while till 24C, when we run the process evaluate absences, we don't have an option to select which type of absence we wanted to evaluate. It will either based on absence type, absence plan, or it will be based on person selection formula or legislative data group and LDG and LE. But now with this particular feature, we can include in progress open-ended absences while we are running this particular process. So the new parameter is available now, and that is called include in progress open-ended absences. So when we are running evaluate all absences process, we can select this particular parameter, and that will add all of those type of absences as well. So it's just a parameter addition that will solve all of those in progress open-ended absences inclusion. In terms of impact, it's low. We don't need to enable anything. There's no configuration needed, and that's why it's a quick win for us. The next feature is schedule shift breakdown available for all the unit of measures. So in this particular feature, it will allow us all the shift related breakdowns, and that is available for all the unit of measures that we have. So in terms of every absences, shift breakdown data is written in the following tables. So that's these are the two tables through which we will be able to get the details of shift related breakdowns. If we use these values, this shift data is useful for time integration and for scheduling engines. If we are using any third party engines for schedules integration, we can use these two following tables data that will give us all the details against the absences. In terms of impact, this is low impacting. We don't need to enable or configure anything, and that's why it's a quick win for us. Okay. Now, would like to talk about absences, which are again quick wins, but we need to enable something in terms of configuration. So it's not a by default given feature for Oracle. So the one is Redwood experience for absence region in global transfer. So while we are transferring someone from one entity to another entity or transfer internally between one business unit to another business unit, there are enhancements into the Redwood experience for absences as well. To enable that particular feature that you can see it on my screen, we just need to enable one particular profile option that is mentioned on the screen. Once we enable that particular profile option, we can use this feature. So in terms of the business benefit, this new Redwood absence region in the local and global transfer page let us experience the new high fidelity in terms of interactions. Okay. So impact level is low. We need to enable this particular profile value only, and that's why it's a quick win for us. Now, similar to the element creation and the classification addition that we already have discussed in global payroll area for donation pools, in this particular area will tell us in terms of absences how we can create that donation pool and how to use that in the absence area. So now we can configure an absence plan of the donation plan type in donation pool plan, and that particular plan will be attached to any of the employees. And once your HR administrator approve, someone can enroll an employee into the donation plan and transfer approved hours into the enrollment. So basically, this particular feature will allow us to transfer balances from the pool, return balance to the pool based on the rest of the actions. So with this particular feature, Oracle is giving us a business benefit of creating a donation pool based plan. And if you wanted to use that against the common pool in the organization based on the policies, we can create all of those options as well. In terms of impact, this is high impacting. We need to configure all of these specific things in terms of absences and absence plan and absence type, and that's why it's not a quick win. We need some detail level analysis and testing for this particular feature to be used. Okay, moving ahead to the next module, and that is Oracle time and labor. We'll talk about the default with no configurations features as part of 24C in OTL. The first feature that is coming as part of 24C is new database items for workforce scheduling integration. So if any of the organization is using workforce scheduling integration, there are some new database items are added to get incentive amounts, overtime allowed attributes, values for workforce scheduling time rules. All of these enhancements will let us validate the time card information, and it will also allow us to calculate the time entries using these for rest of the worker population. Now, there are some key resources mentioned over here by Oracle in this particular feature where we wanted to write the fast formula or any other set of documents. That's the area where we can use these values. But as a part of this particular feature, it will enhance the various ways towards us validating the time card related details. In terms of impact, it's low. We don't need to enable anything. There's no configuration required, and it's a quick win for us. The next one is time card additional statuses on the Redwood team time card page. Similar to classic UI and the responsive UI that we are using, a Redwood enhancement is also making sure that we have a similar set of experience with better UI experience. So for that, team time cards will have some additional statuses available, as you can see it on my screen. Once we click on that, it will also tell us that what is the current status of that particular time card. Instead of just showing us approved, rejected, in progress, saved, submitted, we can also track that the actual area is transferred to payroll or payroll processing is done on that or not. So that is the business benefit. this particular enhancement aligns the Redwood team time cards to the classic and responsive card functionality. In terms of impact, it's low impacting. We don't need to enable, we don't need to configure anything. By default, as a part of 24C in Redwood, this feature will automatically be available for us to use. Okay. The next feature is time card deletion from Redwood in the existing time card page. So if our worker time entry profile allows it, in terms of employee or a manager can delete the time card, in that particular case, Redwood will also allow us to delete the time card which are already saved. So employee can now delete the time card if they have mistakenly created those time card and not submitted. So it depends on your time entry profiles features, but as a part of delivery, we can enable this feature if there is a need. So in terms of impact, it's low impacting and there is no configuration required for this. That's why it is a quick win for us. Now there is one more feature which is default on-call enhancement. With this particular feature, if a person is working on a rotating shift or a shift is spanning between two specific days, so if a person is starting from 9 p.m. on a specific day and completing their shift on the next day, by this particular feature, we can automatically tell that what is the start time and what is the stop time and what is the duration of escape day. So using this particular feature, we can use, as you can see it on the screen. So if the person is working on 9 to 4 on Sunday, but the actual schedule that is assigned to that particular person is ending on 9 a.m. on the next day, on Monday, it will automatically tell us that after 4 a.m. on Sunday, it's an escape day. So that's the feature enhancement that we are getting it as part of 24C. In terms of impact, it's low. We don't need to enable or configure anything, and that's why it's a quick win for us. And in terms of business benefits, this enhancement will align the time cards and workday definitions with the current work schedules. Okay, now there are a couple of time card related enhancement, and those things are coming as part of Redwood UI. So the moment we start using Redwood time card as a template, we can, or an employee can, store up to 6 templates into their particular employee time card area. By using this particular template related things, they can specify their rotating shift, or they can also use the similar set of time cards again and again, considering if their schedules are continuous for a month or 2 month or weekly or bi-weekly. So it's a single time card, they can use it multiple times based on the templates. That's the enhancement that this particular feature is giving us. In terms of impact, again, it's a low impacting, there's no configuration or enablement required, and that's why it's a quick win for us. Now we'll talk about couple of time and labor related features where we have to enable certain things in terms of configuration, and it's not a default driven feature. So the first feature is employee calendar integration. If we are using any calendar inclusion, then worker will get all of those schedule details as and when their new schedules are published. So in this particular feature, Oracle is giving us an option to make sure that as and when the new schedule is published, if we are using any integration or we are using the work schedules for that particular set of employees, automatically their schedules will change. Using this particular thing, this particular sync will help reduce the miscommunication and enhances the productivity of a specific staff. And we can easily swap, cover the request, shift drops, and all of those things can easily be managed via this time to time integration that has been given to us. In terms of steps to enable, we have to enable this feature by going into administrator profile values and selecting a couple of profile values as mentioned on the screen. Once we do that, workforce scheduler alert process will start, and it will make sure that the schedules are in sync as and when there are any changes against the employee's calendar. Impact is medium considering employees, calendars, and work schedules are very much important for all the shift related employees where three different set of shift or rotating shifts are required to be considered. We need to enable this, and that's the configuration that we do. But at the end of it, it's a quick win for us. Now there are a couple of Redwood time card enhancement to make sure that these particular enhancement will provide a better experience with enhanced time cards. So the first one is row level comments. Using this particular feature, we can add row level comment, and that will apply to each and every entry against the element. So if an employee has a time card where 4 or 5 rows are related to that particular time card, employees can specify their comments again each specific row while submitting the time card so that it will be easy to track. The next one is sort the grid. So using this particular feature, Oracle is giving us an option to do the sorting based on the time cards ascending or descending order. So that's the added filter and look and feel as part of Redwood enhancement. We also can add display scheduled hours and resize the grid columns and row. In terms of display schedule hours, depending on your shift types and time card setup, we can add the header row between the period dates so that it will display as the schedule hours, so that while employees adding their actual time cards or actual time related details, they can see that display what are their scheduled hours and against what they are filling their timesheets. And similar to those features, there is a resize grid columns and row feature as well. So in the time card, while saving their specific templates, employee or manager can resize their columns and row sizes as well, so that it will be user specific experience for them. In terms of impact, it's a medium impact. We need to enable and configure a couple of things, but it's a quick win for us at the end of it. Okay. The next one is rolling period filter on the Redwood team time card page. So as you can see it on my screen, alongside all the other status, exception, job, location, department filters, we have one more filter that says relative range. And based on that particular relative range, all the relative ranges that we have enabled as mentioned on the left hand side of my screen, which says steps to enable. Once we go to manage lookups and select that Aura HXT relative ranges, we have an option to select more than 5, 10 relative ranges, that is next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and similar to that. If we enable all of those, employees, managers, and time administrator can view their time cards based on the relative range. So instead of specifying a period, start date and end date, if they wanted to take a look at the view for 1 week, 2 week, or a month or so, they can use predefined relative ranges that is there in the system. So in terms of business benefit, this enhancement gives us line manager and time and labor managers another way of quick filtering results to show the relevant time cards. So it's just an enhancement into what they can currently see based on different set of ranges. In terms of enablement and configuration, we have to go to manage common lookups and enable respective range that we want. But at the end of it, it's a quick win for us. Okay. The other topic is time card approval enhancement. So similar to what we already have seen for managers in terms of absences, they can add their uh, comments while approving and rejecting the time card. Similar to that, in Oracle time and labor as well, managers can add their comments while approving the transactions. So that is the feature. In terms of enablement, we have to do certain set of tasks in terms of setup and maintenance. We have to go to the task and configure human capital management task in BPM work list. Once we do that, In the BPM work list related specific tasks, we already have mentioned that in the test script that what all detailed set of tasks that we need to do so that employees and managers can add their comments into the approval criteria. Once we do that, it will allow those comments entries from the respective approver. In terms of impact, it's high impacting considering the amount of BPM related work is required. We need to enable that, and looking at the configuration, it's not a quick win for us. It will require a little bit of rigorous testing from the customer side. Okay. Now, the last one that I wanted to talk about is workforce scheduling. And in that, we will talk about default with no configuration required. So in workforce scheduling, we have a feature that will add additional shift attributes. So now we can let workers exceed their FTE, and they can work and mark all of those extra hours that they already have put in the overtime. So as you can see it on the screen, while they are adding their shift details and rest of the details that is mentioned on the screen, they can select allow overtime and incentive amount. Based on that, certain setup and shift related details will be added. So previously that particular feature was not there where it will allow us the overtime and incentive amount entry, but now we can allow all of those entries, and if we have approval and those related details enabled, as you can see it on the second screenshot, incentive amount and allow overtime fields are also available at that particular level as well, and we can track that on the details page as well. In terms of impact, it's low impacting. We don't need to enable or configure anything. It's a quick win for us. Moving to the next one, generate and validate workforce schedule enhancement. So this particular feature will benefit us in terms of ensuring the workforce schedules comply with organizational policies and regularity requirements. So when we generate the schedule process run, it will match to workers' workload and weekly FTERs, and it will make sure that there is no exceptions into that particular thing. So in terms of the feature, we don't need to enable or configure anything, and it's a quick win for us. And as a part of feature from 24C, this will make sure that our workforce schedule is validated against the latest policies from the business. The next feature is schedule validation report. So now, as we already are using a validation report, there are a couple of more parameters or more ways that has been added in the validation report. So if we go to the job view and select more actions and validate schedule, the schedule validation process checks the schedule against these mentioned items. And these are the mentioned items against which this report will check the validation. That is, scheduling rules are configured on the schedule profile, workers work pattern, overlapping shift, approved or pending approval, assignments for the department, and overstaffing and understaffing coverage variances. So all of these validations will be checked while we run this particular process. And in terms of business benefit, this feature will help us schedule managers more efficiently their work schedules against the workforce. In terms of impact, it's low. We don't need to enable or configure anything, and that's why it's a quick win. But it will validate the entire populations against mentioned items. The next feature is workforce schedule enhancements. So now in this particular area, we can see workforce schedules that can only see period start date and end date during a specified date range. Now we can see based on the specific date range. So as you can see it on the screen, alongside status, department, and phase, there is a date range feature. And based on that, we can see if we wanted to specify any of the work schedules. So it's just an enhancement into the workforce schedules visibility where we can specify the date range, and based on that, it will give us the details. In terms of impact and configuration, we don't need to do anything. That's why it's a low impacting and it's a quick win for us. Alongside the first enhancement, there is another enhancement which is available over here, and that is an option to select different types of shift. So if you can see it on the screen, there are areas where we can select a specific shift category, a specific shift type, and based on that, only that particular area will be filtered out. So on this particular feature, we can now add filter like shift by category, shift type, and based on that, we can categorize how many employees or how many schedules are falling into that particular criteria. So it's an enhancement to the schedulers who is managing all of these. In terms of impact, it's low impacting. We don't need to enable or configure anything, and that's why it's a quick win for us. Alongside that, we have an option to add more actions into it, where if there are employees or workers with no shift details available, we can directly filter those employees out as well. So as you can see it on the screen, in the more actions, we have an option to expand, collapse, and view workers with no shift. So using this particular feature, we can filter out those employees as well. And that's why that is beneficial to filter out those set of employees directly. Impact level is low. We don't need to enable, configure anything. That's why it's a quick win for us. The other feature alongside workforce schedules is it will, as we have seen on the first slide on workforce schedulers, when employees are adding their schedule details, they can select the allow, overtime, and incentive amount. Similar to that, here we can also edit open shift groups and either increment or decrement number of shift. And alongside, it will give us an option to allow the overtime. So that's the checkbox or a switch enable button, as you can see it on the screenshot, that will allow employees to allow the overtime. In terms of business benefit, this enhancement lets schedulers more efficiently manage their schedules. In terms of impact, it's low impacting. We don't need to enable or configure anything. That's why it's a quick win for us. The other topic is similar to the enhancement. Shift with day start times that fall on previous or next day are marked on the calendar day with an asterisk. So if we have a rotating shift, or if we have a midnight span related shift where employee will start on a specific day, but they will complete their working schedule after their assigned shift. So those shifts will be marked with asterisk so that employees can easily, and workforce scheduler managers can easily track those details. Again, similar to all other enhancement, the impact is low. We don't need to enable or configure anything. That's why it's a quick win for us. The last one is in terms of public holidays defined for locations using geographic trees that can now appear on workforce schedule. So if you wanted to add those holidays or public holidays based on the locations, that can also be available. And we can also add the shift with swap, drop, and cover those requests based on the different employees' work schedule. So if a manager wanted to assign someone else on that particular public holiday where employees geographically assigned, they can easily drag and drop someone else's work schedule on that particular day while managing their entire team. Their impact is low. We don't need to enable or configure anything, and that's why it's a quick win for us. And as a part of transactional subject area, schedule generation profile setup real time is the new subject area that has been enabled in OTBI area. This particular subject area will allow us to report scheduled managers, staffing departments, job position filter, and various scheduling rules that we can set it up. So alongside all the other workforce schedule related subject area, this is a new subject area that has been added in OTBI report. And this particular feature will let us report on various details associated to the schedule generation policies. The impact level on this one is low. We don't need to enable or configure anything. And it's a quick win for us considering we can track all of those details for schedule generation profile in OTBI. The enhancement to two subject areas are also summarized as below. So as you can see, mentioned on the screen, workforce scheduling, workload real time, and workforce scheduling, workload consolidation real time. There are certain more dimensions and attributes added so that we can add all of those set of filters against the subject areas and the report that we are creating. So it's just an addition or the field related details addition in the OTBI subject area where we can drag and drop and create our specific set of report. That's why in terms of business benefits, this particular feature provides the enhancement on mentioned subject area to improve the reporting capabilities. There's one more subject area that is scheduled coverage real time that has been added similar to the other subject area. And this will also provides an information to ensure proper staffing coverage for each shift can happen. So these are the two specific new subject areas that are added as part of 24C in workforce scheduling that will help us creating more detailed analysis in OTBI reporting. Okay, there are some features that will require to be created or enabled with this minor configuration changes in workforce scheduling. So I'll talk about those features right now. The first feature is worker self-scheduling swap shift. If worker wanted to swap their assigned shift with other shift as needed, they can request that particular details to the workforce manager. And if that particular request is approved, they can work on a different shift. And if that request cannot be approved and declined by certain other reasons, they can again assign back to the original shift. So that's the feature has been given as part of 24C, where it will allow an employee to add a capability to ask for a swap shift. And if they wanted to do that, and if their current workforce management allow that, they can change their shift from an AM shift to PM shift and vice versa. Okay. In terms of business benefit, this particular feature boosts workforce satisfaction and efficiency by enhancing scheduling flexibility and accommodating changing availability as well. Impact level is medium impact. We need to enable it, yes. In terms of configuration, we have to do the configuration and we have to make sure that based on all the tips and considerations that has been given by Oracle, it's not a quick win for us considering the details of work and the impact that has. Okay. The next topic is self-scheduling approval configuration. Now, by this particular feature, we can configure the approval workflow for drop shift request, cover request, and swap request so they can align with our organization policies. There are a couple of administrating authorized to manage drop, cover, and swap shift request they can do. So we have to use BPM workflow. We have to specify set of rules and payload data to manage all the approval processes. We have to customize the default workflow, and that's why it's not a quick win for us. In terms of impact, it's a low impact, but the amount of work and the configuration that is required on top of it, that is asking for a rigorous testing from SI and from the customer side as well. Okay. In terms of business benefit, this particular feature lets workforce schedule administrator to create tailored approval workflow that aligns with their organizational policies. Okay. So these are the features that were available as part of 24C in workforce and global payroll area. Now I will assign it back to the host, Sachin Mishra. Sachin, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Urmil. Thank you for the wonderful insights. As we have seen, there is a lot of impressive features that came up in this quarter release, that is 24C. Okay, let's quickly move towards the Q&A part now. Prashant Agrawal, could you please unmute yourself and check if we have received any questions in question or chat panel?
No, Sachin, no questions so far.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation. One important message which we would like to convey to all that if you would like to enable Redwood pages for any of the modules, or if you need any further assistance on the Redwood pages, you can certainly write to the Mastek support manager and they will be able to arrange the required support. Also, you will receive an email by next week wherein presentation, test scripts, and session recordings would be available to you at a single click. So these are the upcoming sessions which you can see on the screen. SCM Procurement and Advanced Procurement, Oracle Quarterly Updates 24C, that is upcoming next in a couple of minutes. HR Help Desk and WARCI Oracle Quarterly Updates, that is planned on 9th of July. Talent and OLC Oracle Quarterly Updates, that is also planned on 10th of July. SCM Inventory and Order Management, that is also planned on 10th of July. And the last session is Benefits and Compensation Oracle Quarterly Updates, that is planned on 11th of July. So before you leave us, we would like to have a quick feedback on today's session with the help of poll. So I'm launching the poll on your screens right now. Please rate your overall experience of today's sessions, where 1 being the lowest rating and 5 being the highest. We have got the ratings, so closing the poll right now. Okay, so one important message, if you have any issues encountered while registering in the webinars, you can immediately report to us to our official mail ID, cmsoperations@mastek.com. We are working round the clock globally, serving to our global customer support 24/7. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. Have a nice day. Yeah, bye.